Right, okay. So our last time together before you launch out into M2 and you maybe wind up, if you're lucky or unlucky, with me as a supervisor for your rapport de stage and placement. So going back to our candidature unit. So this is where we've been thinking about how you can get yourself a job and how best to do it. Unfortunately, it made things a little bit difficult towards the end because my intention, as you know, was to allow you to be interviewed for a particular post by one of your colleagues and to have a rapporteur who would look at you in the role of interviewer, in the role of interviewee, and who could give you feedback. And I would also do that as well. Unfortunately, with COVID confinement, COVID con, as I am calling it now, or COVID decon, as we may well be calling it in a bit, it made that impossible. So that was a bit unfortunate, wasn't it? But there we go. So what do I need to do to draw all this together? Well, the first thing is to remind you that on my YouTube channel, I've been sending you the addresses for various short video clips between 10 and 22, 23 minutes that I've put online for you. Those will stay there until perhaps I improve them. Now, if you don't remember quite where to find the instructions on how to get to them, remember that you can just simply search. If you do Tony Jolly and YouTube channel teaching materials, you'll find my channel, and there are a number of different sectors in it. One of them is teaching materials. Open that up and have a look at what you want. I've just been looking according to my list here, which I'll stand up beside the camera. We did something on covering letter advice, and you had something on my website as well about why they're important and how to go about putting them together in a way that makes it attractive enough that the reader will want to turn over and watch your CV. So there were materials online on my website, and there were materials on YouTube that I put there for you. Same goes for different CVs, different forms of CVs and choices, and also the danger of templates. And again, you've got another set of my 10 tips on producing CVs there. Also, we went through traditional CVs, what they look like, when they work and when they don't. A new architecture CV, which is built individually around what the employer says he wants, rather than the template, rather than something standard that you've been taught how to do. It addresses and replies to exactly what they say they want. And that's becoming more and more important these days. Interview preparation, I did a session on that. The importance of reading, rereading, and getting underneath the skin of job descriptions and person specifications, because that's the key to writing a good letter. It's the key to bringing out certain things in your CV for particular posts that you perhaps wouldn't from others. It's the key to differentiating yourself from your competitors. And also, how do you use those when it comes to preparing for interview? The great thing is I've given you two statistics at 85%. 85% of CVs are never read because the covering letters are so awful, no one will want to read anymore. But also 85% of questions at interview are almost entirely predictable because the employers have now said very clearly on their job description and person specification, this is what we're looking for. This is what we want you to be able to do. These are the skills we want you to be able to have. This is the experience that we need. These are the qualifications that we need. They've given you the menu. This is back to if you remember, ding, 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 diddle, ding, ding. You need to be able to get a hook. How do you hook someone? According to what is important and what matters to them. If you haven't really read and understood what's in the job description and the person specification, then potentially you're in difficulty. If you have, you are head and shoulders above most of your competitors. Other things, I also put together a kind of a covering letter checklist so that when you produce your covering letter, you can go back over it and double check that you have in fact nailed it. I also put up a piece on professional associations and what they are, why they're there, how they can help you while you're still at university, how they can help you find your first job, how they can help you keep your skills up together and developed throughout your career. I really would commend that to you if you can. So what other things are there to think about? Well, had we had the time together, I think we would have thought a little bit more about new technologies. How are they changing the deal? Well, as I think I've said elsewhere, you can walk into a certain branch of the BNP in Paris, if it's open, we don't know currently, obviously, and do speed dating for 2 or 3 minutes, and they'll tell you whether it's even a good idea to apply or not to apply. Are you bank material or not? You've then got people like Airbus. You don't apply for a job at Airbus, you apply to be considered for a job that they may or may not have in the future. You answer a series of database housed questions, and then if they have something that they put into their system that pulls out your details and thinks you might be interested, they may well ask you, are you still available? Are you interested? Are you applying? Other things, social networks. Well, most of you know more than I do about LinkedIn. It's a professional network, and I have had probably about one student every 2 years at the moment who's been using LinkedIn assiduously, carefully, updating it with material, doing it professionally, and who has actually been asked to come for interview and got a job as a result of their LinkedIn profile. Those are beginning to assume a much greater sense of importance now. Same perhaps goes for the use of social networks. Companies are increasingly using their own website, not just recruiters, not just newspapers. They are increasingly using professional associations where they know there is the creme de la creme of candidates. If you're not a member of the association, you're never going to see the good jobs that they're putting up there. You're never going to have the opportunity to put your CV or covering letter and your aspirations on the site for a member, a commercial member, a corporate member of a professional association to pick up. Some companies are beginning to use social networks. They're beginning to use not just their own corporate social network, but the social networks of their employees. Find me people like you. I've employed you, you're good, find me somebody else like you. It's not a bad proxy for going through an interview process or headhunting or going through Monster Board or putting a job advert out. Other things where technology is coming in. Well, what about tests? I've mentioned these a couple of times. The fact that companies now are increasingly wanting to find out more about you, and they can do that. For virtually any job profile, one can write a profile of a type of person that one would want to do it. And you can ask people questions. There are psychometric, psychological tests where you sit down and you answer things on computer, and the computer program, the algorithm behind it, forms an opinion of you and tells the employer what type of person, from these answers you've given, that they think you are, and then it's up to the employer to decide whether does that kind of person fit this type of job. If you have a job for a representative, a marketeer, somebody big in communications, and you find you have a profile of somebody who is very, very reserved, very conservative, not very outgoing, very introverted. If the piece of software told you that about the individual, would you want to invite them to interview? Probably not. Better you prepare those tests before you go. So there we go. I'm not going to drag this one out. I'm going to leave it at 10 or 11 minutes. What we've tried to do is to cover the most important things, to understand why employers are making it tougher, because they have to find the right person. It costs too much to get the wrong person, or to have to keep replacing the wrong person every time they leave. There is a psychology behind how you deal with the information about the job and what you do with it, what you make of it in your covering letter and your CV, and how you prepare for interview. I've tried to prepare you for that. I've tried to talk to you about interviews and how they work, but there's lots of material about that online if you want to go and look at it. Okay, I've got to fast forward. I've got to fast forward to today. Corporations post-COVID con or deconfinement are going to find it difficult to retain all the staff that they have in many cases. That being the case, the competition, the people who were unemployed before COVID, the people who find themselves unemployed as a result of COVID, and new graduates are all going to be competing. American unemployment has grown by something like 25% over a matter of a couple of months. Ours here is likely to be similar. I think this month we went from approaching 3 million people unemployed to 3.7 million people unemployed. The competition is going to get tougher necessarily. There are more people out there and there are fewer people looking. Work it out. You can do the math, as the Americans say. So there we are. If you want to be serious about this, you've got to take it seriously. A saying that comes from the north of England. To fail to prepare is to prepare to fail. Don't fail. You've worked really hard throughout your degree and master's programs. You've come out with a good qualification. You deserve to have the opportunity to work. But you're really, really going to need to compete to get that opportunity. And remember, as I've said countless times before in class, on these videos and on my website, there's no silver and bronze medal. The gold medal is the job. After that, there's nothing but the frustration of knowing that you were that close. That is not a kind of a reward or a recompense. It's an annoyance. You really have to go full out for every job. From the very first moment of the very first thing that you say to them and you show them. Hence my series of 10 tips trying to help you to find a way to differentiate yourself, to be able to get yourself on the interview pile. I hope I've done that. I've tried to do that. If you don't think I really have done that, go back and please look at each one of those videos and the feedback that I've given you on your work, because all of your covering letters have got corrections to your English, corrections to or amendments to what you could or perhaps should have said. I've given you really detailed comments, each and every one of you, and I sincerely hope that they will help you prepare for the moment where it's not just dealing with a teacher, it's you dealing with your possibility of a future with somebody who doesn't know you, has never met you, and is having to judge you on paper, initially at least. So there we go. It's not been a long unit, this particular one. We've had to do a lot of it at distance. That's never quite as good as it is face-to-face. It has some advantages and some disadvantage. But I hope you have got something out of that which will hold you in good stead in the labour market. So there we are. Congratulations on having done your work. Those of you who've got good marks out of me, I don't give good marks easily. Those of you who think your marks could and should have been better, don't get mad, get even. When you do it for real, prove to yourself that you really, really, really can pull out all the stops and you can do it. So I can only wish you a successful career in the labour market after graduation. All the very best of luck. And as we now seem to have graduation ceremonies at UHA, COVID confinement, etc. permitting, I hope to see you at one of those in the near future. Okay? All the very best of luck. Thank you very much. If you want to leave me any feedback on my website, fine. I've written 3 or 4 articles recently about what I think is happening business-wise, what will happen. I've made a whole load of predictions about what I think is going to happen post-COVID in the last 3 or 4 news articles I've written. Please have a look at them. Please comment as you see fit. Okay? All right. Goodbye for now. Bye.